Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94. I'm Nikesh Ragani, as always, alongside Sarah Waris, my co-host. And look, we know we've not been with you as regularly recently, and believe me, it's not by choice. The thing is that the 99.94 network is going through some things right now and has decided to take a break. And we obviously hope that's not going to be a permanent break. And we hope to be back with you regularly before too long. But at this stage, we just simply don't know what the situation is. So before we get into the episode, we just wanted to thank everyone, really, who's been with us on this journey so far, who's listened to us on the podcast, who's watched us on YouTube, who's got in touch as well. Everyone who's appeared on this 99.94 network, all the other shows that we've brought to you as well have been great. And this show in particular, the figures have been very good. So it shows a lot of you have engaged in what we've done. A lot of that is thanks to your support. So, once again, just a big thank you to all of you for listening and to watching for us. And while the network decides on its future, you can still follow both Sarah and I on social media. You can follow all my commentary work that I still do for the BBC and SEN and all my other sports broadcasting work as well. And Sarah is still writing brilliantly for Wisden as well. So do keep in touch with both of us. Sarah, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just overwhelmed with all the support that came in for us, with all the positive reviews, with all the constructive criticism. And I never expected this kind of feedback because I was totally new to it. The network put their trust in me, and the feedback that just came in for us for this show in particular was just so encouraging. And yeah, hope we are back soon. And again, thank you for all the feedback, for regularly listening, and the fact that people missed us. We didn't do a show for a long time, and the people missed us. They tagged us asking where we are. I think that's just a stamp of how people heard us and they wanted more of us. So really
Absolutely,
grateful
yeah.
for
So
that.
just a big thank you to everyone who's supported the show so far. But before we go, we have got one final show for you. This is not just a big long goodbye. We are going to talk cricket, and we're going to start, Sarah, with the Border Gavaskar series, the third test. Australia pulling one back in Indore. We thought they'd do well maybe in Dharamshala if the test was to be played there, slightly different conditions on offer, but they've done it on a ranked turner, on a raging turner, on a snake pit, whatever you want to call it. India won the toss, had a bat first. Everything was going in India's favour. Even from that point of view, you look at the pitch, everything was supposedly all set up for India, but the Aussies, under Steve Smith this time, of course, as well, leading the side in the absence of Pat Cummins, get the job done, and a really disappointing 2 and a bit days for India, as it turned out.
Definitely, and I had actually predicted the night before the test that I have a feeling India are going to lose this. Probably a sense of complacency or arrogance. This is the words of Matthew Hayden. Like, he criticized Rohit Sharma for his batting and his captaincy overall, saying that there was sense of complacency in his batting, and the fact that we are India, we are going to boss the conditions. So probably you could feel that sense of arrogance coming in the fans as well, that okay, we've just won the first 2 test matches quite easily, and we are going to win the last 2 and go into the WTC final. The WTC, now India have to win the last test and then hope to qualify, direct qualification. One more thing, you spoke about the pitch being in India's favor. Do you really think a rank turner works in India's favor? Because it the mastery of Ashwin and Jadeja negated, and if you this pitch has been given a poor rating by the ICC, and the last time India lost on a rank turner in 2017 was also in Pune against Australia, was also a rank turner. So do you think these kind of pitches actually work for India's favor? Because we've spoken at length about India batters not being that good against Spain, and Rahane has also in the past criticized these kind of pitches, saying that because of the spin wickets, the averages of the batters have been going down in the past, which is not very pleasing to them also. So do you think India should prepare the
Yeah,
rank
that's why I said
turners?
supposedly everything in India's favour, because you're right. If it's a
Yeah.
complete rank turner, it almost does negate the brilliance of Ashwin and Jadeja, who don't necessarily need a rank turner to be able to then do what they do and bowl sides out and, out bowl opposition. It gives, more of a level playing field really for the likes of Nathan Lyon, Todd Murphy and Kuhneman and these guys to come into the game as well. And look, Matthew Kuhneman, he's an okay bowler. Is he going to do anything in the rest of his Test career? I don't think so. So, for him to bowl and get the figures that he did in the first innings, 5 for 16, we've seen it in the past, haven't we? We've seen Michael Clarke take 6 for 9 in India. We've seen Steve O'Keefe absolutely, bowl the Indians out in that 2017 series in that first Test as well. And what of these guys? Clarke was never a proper all-rounder. Joe
Did Joe
Root,
Root
5
get
for
hurt?
8 in that
Yeah.
series as well in Ahmedabad. So, it happens a lot in Indian conditions. Even Ajaz Patel's a decent bowler. And yeah, India still went on to win that match where he took a 10 for. But Ajaz Patel, is he a world-class spinner? Probably not. He's okay, does a job. But it's just creating these kind of conditions. It sets up that level playing field where, these part-timers and these, with all due respect, look, I don't want to be harsh on Kuhneman. He's a Test cricketer. I'm not. He's done well in first class cricket. He does well in the Big Bash in white ball cricket as well. But he's nowhere near the standards of Ashwin and Jadeja. He's miles off, and he always will be miles off. He's just not got the armory to be an all-time great of any description in spin bowling in the world. So yeah, it's a shame. And as a batter as well, I find it disappointing that you look at the averages of people like Pujara and Kohli, and yeah, you might say they themselves have been out of form personally across all conditions. But to have those averages dropping so significantly just shows you, and they have played a lot of Test cricket at home in the last few years as well. And 250 is almost a good score. We don't want to see that. I mean, what we saw in Nagpur was slightly different, with Rohit Sharma getting that 120 and India scoring 400, batting just the once. And that's kind of what you expect India to do at home, to have that real dominance on the game. And, when you look at it, though, when you break it down, it was only actually the lower order that really allowed them to get to that 400. And I think that's been the issue in this Test match, that the lower order hasn't fired, and Jadeja obviously got promoted up the order a little bit. But those all-rounders, Jadeja, Ashwin and Akshar Patel, not out in both innings, wasn't given the opportunity to bat a long one. But they've not had they've not saved India's bacon this time. Basically, it's as simple as that. And in Delhi, it could have been very different had it not been for that Akshar Patel innings. So even in Nagpur, although in Nagpur at least Rohit batted well, and there were some other contributions in the order as well. Jadeja played well on that occasion as well. And, there were one or two other contributions, but that really sort of killed the game off and made sure India didn't have to bat again. And Australia, look, they've had their positions in this series. It's not been like India have completely dominated the whole series. They should have won in Delhi. They had chances in Nagpur. They just didn't make the most of it. I mean, to be honest, it was probably their own media and all that stupidness from Fox Cricket and all these, supposed reputable outlets who were just getting in their head with talk of the pitch and pictures of the pitch. And, it was our colleague Bharat Sundaresan who tweeted the picture of the pitch, and everyone went mad. And, they should have taken that with a pinch of salt. Nobody else was there. Nobody saw how it was actually being prepared. They just saw a picture and went crazy. And that sort of fed into the Australian mindset, I felt, as well in Nagpur. So things could have been very, very different in this series had, just one or two of the bigger moments gone Australia's way. So, yeah, I'm not sure these pitches are necessarily the way forward. It seems like an obsession to try and play it safe, to make rank turners. Nobody wants to see 3-day Test matches for a start, unless, like maybe in Nagpur, there was nothing wrong with the pitch and India just completely outplayed Australia, and Australia psychologically weren't there. That's
Mm.
different. But when you talk about even Delhi to an extent, it could have been a little bit better, the pitch to bat on for the first couple of days. They could have prepared it in that way. And this one, okay, they didn't have as much time in Indore because the fixture was changed fairly last minute. But still, it's not a good look for Indian Test cricket. And, as much as we like to see home conditions, this is taking the piss, I think. And it didn't, and it
Yeah.
backfired as well. So there you go.
Yeah. Just one point on this is off late, since 2018 or something, you could say that pitches have become slightly, like this. The big scores aren't really coming. We have seen a big couple of big scores. We saw 400 in Nagpur, but not like the 500s and 600s being scored, which was so common when the likes of Sachin and Dravids and all they were playing. So and Vikram Rathore actually before the series, or after the first test or something, he actually said that with the World Test Championship, the importance of winning home games have increased so much more. So the kind of that could be a reason why the pitches have become more result oriented, you could say, and not those flatter roads which we would see. So that could have also paid a part in it, because played a part in it, because yeah, draws don't get you as many points, and in the World Test Championship, and winning at home, as he said, is crucial. So if you just look at the scoreboard, I think in since 2018, 600 has been crossed two times, I think, or maybe once. So yeah, that's another reason why I think the pitches are slowly becoming different from what we are so used to seeing, the 500s and 600s being scored, and teams playing for the draws and all that. And maybe the captaincy of Virat Kohli also, that Virat Kohli played test cricket to get the results, like, and he wasn't really in favor of these playing matches for draws. So that could have also been a reason um, for the pitches in India totally becoming so different since 2017 or 18, where the big scores aren't really that common. So uh, just my two
Absolutely.
cents on
Another
that.
reason why the big scores haven't been so common is, look, there's problems in the batting, and we'll take a short break and we'll discuss
Yeah.
that on the other side.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So yeah, the big elephant in the room for the first two tests was KL Rahul and his form at the top of the order. And I think in a way, all that chat protected chat around the likes of Kohli, for example. And,
Mhm.
not just Kohli's form, but Kohli's struggles against spin. And this has been ongoing a lot longer than the 3 years or whatever it is since he's scored a century. 3 years and 3 or 4 months or something. November 2019, wasn't it? His last Test century. But his problems against high quality spin on tracks like these, especially, but even in white ball cricket in conditions around the world, it doesn't have to be red ball cricket on dust bowls. He's just not the best player of spin bowling in the world. And yeah, he has performed brilliantly against all bowlers that he's faced at one time or another. But overall, his technique, I don't think, stacks up that well. And, creating pitches like this obviously doesn't help him. Pujara has not been in the best of form. He batted really well for his 59 in the second innings in this test match, obviously remained not out and scored the winning runs in Delhi as well. So we've seen flashes from him, but not that consistency. KS Bharat, he didn't keep well in this test match. It was a difficult one. It would have been difficult for anybody, but he didn't keep well. We were told how great a keeper he is. And if you're not going to be able to keep well in these conditions, and you certainly don't look like a batter, you look like a number 9 or whatever, probably a number 9 at least, right? Because you've got Akshar in there, you've got Jadeja, Ashwin in there. He's nowhere near better than any of those guys at the moment in his career. So what is his role in the side? Rahul's gone now. Shubman Gill's back in. It's unfair to judge him on one test match in these conditions, but there's real problems. Even Rohit at the top of the order. Look, Rohit's looked good at times. He looked really good in Nagpur. He batted well in Delhi until he was run out. And, but it's just not clicked on. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't fill you with confidence, this batting lineup, does it?
Definitely. And it's a coincidence that our first ever show was talking about Kohli and if he should be dropped from the T20I team, and he had that remarkable comeback. And now our last show for the time being is talking about Kohli in the test squad, and hopefully, he can now turn it around and have that remarkable comeback as well. But yeah, totally excellent points. And even Shreyas Iyer, he didn't play the first test match. He looked decent, but overall the batting lineup, as you said, has been horrendous. And the first 2 test matches, it was the lower middle order, Akshar, Jadeja, Ashwin, who played those knocks and helped India to decent scores. So if not for them, it was, I think, 138 for 7 or something in Delhi, and something similar in Nagpur also. So it's something which has been an issue. Pujara, he has returned to form, but there was Rahane before that who would take all the blame. Now Rahane is not there. So then there was KL Rahul, as you rightly said, there was KL Rahul. And now there's been Kohli. The eyeballs are on Kohli. He's 34 years old. You could say that, his revival, his comeback in ODIs and T20Is makes you hope that something similar is waiting in Test cricket. But at 34 years old, 3.5 years, he's been out of form and just looks like the runs don't seem to come for him. He looked great in the first innings, I would say. He scored only 22, but he showed application. He had the technique, but the big runs aren't just coming for him. And he has scored decent knocks in the last 3 years. Like there was this 74, I think, in Adelaide, where he was run out, and before flying back for the birth of his child. And then in Chennai, in one of the test matches, he scored some 70 odd, which was also on a difficult pitch. So, and then 79, 29 against South Africa. It's last year, I think it was in Cape Town, when Rishabh Pant scored that 100 and India lost the match. So there have been good knocks. There have been knocks where he's applied himself, but the big runs aren't coming. And after a point, it was a similar discussion with KL Rahul also, that he looked good in England, he looked good in South Africa, but the runs had dried up of late. So how long will the patience last? There is someone like Sarfaraz Khan in the wings, and there are other talented players in the ring, waiting in the wings. So how long will the patience last? And he's 34 years old. He's not getting any younger. So probably in the next WTC cycle, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a whole list of them, isn't there? Sarfaraz Khan, look, there's no denying the form that he's been in over the last 2 or 3 years, and just his entire first-class career is amazing anyway. He has been cited as having, I've been speaking to people while I was over in India, and people who've known him coming up the ranks, and there are disciplinary issues ever since he was a lot younger and playing junior cricket. And, hopefully these things sort of pass and people mature and move on. And, we hope to sort of see a mature Sarfaraz Khan making his international debut and playing for India in Test cricket and scoring runs. But even him aside, you look at the Irani Cup at the moment, and Abhimanyu Iswaran is scoring runs. Yashasvi Jaiswal is scoring runs as well. And, these are not just runs. Jaiswal's scoring double centuries in first-class cricket. I think he's now scored 3 in 9 matches or something like that. So, these people are really seriously knocking on the door. And then you've got other people like Mayank Agarwal, who is still scoring runs, and he's been there. He's played Test cricket. He's been successful at Test cricket. He averages over 40 in Test cricket. There are people. There's so many different options as well for different positions in the order. So it's not done and dusted that if you're Virat Kohli, you're guaranteed your place now in this Test side. As you say, he's 34, which isn't that old for somebody who's as fit as he is. And if you look at the other obvious comparison, Sachin Tendulkar went on until he was past 40. I'd say the difference was that Tendulkar kind of had a second coming across all forms, and it was coming back from injury after sort of 07, 08, and then 09 and 10 were brilliant years. I mean, 2010 was the best year Sachin's ever had in Test cricket. And, he was like just a couple of years away from his retirement. He was in his late 30s and he was scoring double hundred in ODI cricket. In 09, he scored that 175 against Australia, which I thought was a better innings. He had, even in 2011, he had a very good World Cup. He was the second top run scorer, 2 centuries, that 80 odd in the semi-final. Okay, it was a bit scratchy, but he got the runs against Pakistan as well in that important match. And even through the England series, the big runs weren't coming for him, but the half centuries still were. And this is when people said he should have retired long ago. So, there may well be a second coming, but it's more like the Tendulkar of probably 2012 and into 2013, where he was just very scratchy. And I'm getting those same vibes from Virat, where there's the odd innings. This is in Test cricket only, where you get that 44 in Delhi and it looks really good and you've gutsed it out and you've looked solid and everyone's willing you on, but you don't quite get the big score. Same here with the 22 in the first innings as well. I mean, look, there comes a time when you've got to just step back from that and think, well, hang on. Yeah, it was a decent 44. Yeah, it was a good 22. Yeah, it was a nice 17, whatever. But you got to take yourself back from being a fan of Virat Kohli and this legend of Virat Kohli and just treat him, it's a shame to say it, but like a player, just like another player, because he's had this long rope, you could say, in Test cricket. And it's weird for us to be sitting here and saying this because this is a guy who up until 2019 was touching 55 in Test cricket after 80 odd Test matches. And he was probably the greatest batter we've ever had across all formats. But things happen, right? It's been over 3 years since then. And there's got to come a point where someone's got to take a call. And who's going to take that call? There's no chairman of selectors now, but hopefully there'll be someone in place to be able to take that call. But yeah, it's the batting needs looking at. As far as the bowling is concerned, yeah.
One more thing about the batting before we move on about Kohli is that is he living on extended time because of how great he was and all that he has achieved? If it was not Kohli, he would have been dropped way earlier, is what I feel. KL Rahul, he did brilliantly in England and he was decent in South Africa also. It just took around 8 or 9, not even 8 or 9, even lesser, I think, bad Test innings from him to call for his removal, and he has been stripped of vice captaincy also. Even in the ODI team, he's no longer the vice captain. Hardik Pandya is the vice captain now. So would he have continued? Even Ajinkya Rahane, all these, he has eventually been dropped. So
yeah,
you think even Pujara in 2018
Rahane
had been
is the
dropped
better
for
example
a while.
because he was the vice captain and a very senior player and very highly regarded, particularly for his overseas form, which his overseas record is better than his record in India, which might be another reason why he complains about the tracks back in India as well. But look, with Rahul is an overhyped cricketer, I feel, and always has been, just because of his look. He's got that similar kind of look to Kohli. He's from that kind of. He's almost one of these kids who's grown up and idolized somebody like a Virat Kohli and just wanted to be exactly like him in certain ways. And you look at his overseas record and we say he's had the success in England. We're talking like this is a guy who's averaging in the 40s or 50s in these countries. It's not. It's a guy whose overseas Test record The average is 30. So, you can understand, and he just looks like a man who just is confused. He just doesn't know his game at the moment. He needs to go back and play domestic cricket. The domestic season, unfortunately, finished in terms of red ball cricket. So where's he going to get that? Maybe he needs to play county cricket, but he won't do that. He'll play IPL, like you say. So it's just going to be swings and roundabouts. He's just going to keep going in that same sort of circle. So he needs to go away, be out of the international setup at least for a while and find his game if he is going to find it again. But Rahane, he's not this legend of Indian batting, but still a very, very good, successful cricketer with a very good record across a long period of time, has played with some of the greats of the game, has sort of played in this generation as well. But yeah, Kohli's just getting that little bit of extra time because he's the GOAT, right? And
he's Kohli.
Everything that comes with Kohli is, he'll probably get more extended time. And in a way, who are we to knock the selectors and people in charge for giving him that little bit of extra time because of all he's done for Indian cricket? But there has to come a point, at some point, where you've just got to look at people's form. And if you're struggling to score 250 or 200 in test matches at home, you've got to look at the conditions that you're preparing, but also the type of batters you've got there. And you need people who are in form and capable of scoring the big runs. And I just want to touch on the bowlers before we move on to the next segment, and to say that, do you think India needs 3 spinners in these kind of conditions? You think it should go an extra batter maybe? Because Akshar Patel is,
that was exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, do India need 2 fast bowlers? That was my question, which I was going to pose to you. Do India need 2 fast bowlers? A combined Shami, Umesh and Siraj, they bowled 60, 61 overs in the 3 test matches. They bowled just 13 overs in Nagpur, in Indore. And it's not that, either of them is, any of the fast bowlers is a very good batsman also. You can't expect them to be like Ashwin or Jadeja and consistently score those 30s and 40s. So, yeah, good point. I think Akshar is there for his batting. So you'll need someone like Akshar for his batting, because he's been one of the best batsmen for India in this series.
If you're not going to bowl the guy, if he's taken 1 wicket in this entire series, and he hasn't bowled as much, but he's not really looked as threatening. He's, I don't know, his bowling form hasn't been as good over the last sort of year, 15 months or so anyway. If you're picking him as a batter, there are better options surely as proper batters, or even if you want to pick another all-rounder and maybe have Akshar in the team and, maybe only have the one genuine quick, why don't you put somebody like a Hardik Pandya in the side, and somebody could bowl a few overs if you need him to, but just gives you that solid batting and that experience in the middle order, and something different, because you've got a lot of these guys who, like to negotiate this spin in a certain way. Sometimes you just need somebody to come and have a smash, don't you?
I was actually thinking of someone like Riyan Parag, because he had a fantastic Ranji Trophy. He scored runs, he picked up wickets. So, you never know. He could be that, he's not a fast bowler. But, someone like him, or why not just have Ishan Kishan or Surya Kumar in there? Because, we have missed Pant in this series. Like, when the match is moving at a slow pace, for example, in this yesterday when Pujara was batting, what wouldn't have India done to have someone like Pant there? And after a point, even Rohit Sharma got so frustrated and he sent out that message via Ishan Kishan to Pujara to attack more, and then he hit that 6. So, someone like a Pant would just have been so handful on these conditions. Unfortunate. Hope he recovers and comes back well. But why not have Surya Kumar or someone like Ishan Kishan? Because as you said, Bharat's keeping has not been the greatest. He edged ahead of Kishan because of his keeping skills. But if that's not the best, why not have someone like Kishan there? Even Pant, when he started off, his keeping wasn't the greatest, but he improved as he went along. So why can't someone like Ishan Kishan do the same? So yeah, that I would like to see some changes in this department. But unlikely they're going to make any changes for
Yeah,
the
well, Rohit
Ahmedabad
Sharma
test.
did. He was asked the question about the pitch in Ahmedabad
Yeah.
before this match had even concluded, and sort of suggested that if they were to win in Indore, then he might prepare a green top. I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, or they might be better suited to that. To be honest, they've performed well overseas in recent times. They've won in Australia. They've the 2-1 up in England in 2021, and even in South Africa they had their opportunities. So it's not as if they can't play in those conditions. And they've got a hell of a fast bowling lineup as well, if you bring Shami back into it as well. So, they have got other options. They're not just one-trick ponies where you've got to play the 3 spinners and you've got to prepare dust bowls. So let's see. It probably will be another dust bowl. Prime Minister's going to be in attendance for the first day as well. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on India to perform well at his ground, right? The Prime Minister's ground is named after him as well. So there's going to be a lot of pressure to perform. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But India needing to win that match now to guarantee their place in the World Test Championship final and not rely on other results as well. We knew they had to win 3 coming into this series. So if there's 1 to go, they need to win it. So best of luck to them, and we'll see how that one pans out. But another thing, Sarah, starting this weekend, tomorrow, as we sit here and record this episode, the Women's Premier League. So we'll take another short break and we'll discuss that on the other side.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So WPL, we're on the eve of it as we speak at the moment. And look, it's been hastily thrown together, this whole thing, the announcement, the auction, which was during the T20 World Cup. It's all happened at 100 miles an hour, but it's finally here. It's not the full-blown version that we were after with 10 teams and, mirroring the IPL and playing all around the country. It's going to be in the Mumbai area. It's going to be based on what the IPL was like during COVID times. But look, it's a massive step in the right direction. The teams are all set up as well. They've sort of been doing their promotions, and we know now that Harmanpreet's the Mumbai Indians captain, Smriti's the RCB captain. We know the key players from other sides as well, and people are starting to form their allegiances, I feel, in terms of fans and who they're going to follow in this tournament as well. How do you sort of see the tournament on the eve? Are you excited?
I am very excited, and especially in Mumbai, I am expecting huge crowds to go in because we saw probably they chose Mumbai as the venue after seeing the turnout in the Australia series. I think that's the sole reason. Otherwise, I am 100% sure they would have gone for a smaller venue, probably Jaipur or one of the other cities which has hosted the T20 challenge in the past. They wouldn't have gone for Mumbai. I'm very certain about it. But probably they saw the huge turnout during the Australia series and the excitement. I can feel it on Twitter. I can feel that people are already, flying out to Mumbai, getting their tickets. It's free for women. It's priced for the men. So this is an opportunity for the young girls to go out there with the fathers should take them, mothers should take them, and then to see this whole world that exists and that there is a career in sports and everything. So it's just encouraging and it's exciting. It's exciting to cover this WPL. We've waited for this for a long time. We've spoken about it, and I just hope that at the end, these players, especially from an Indian point of view, they get more, they get game awareness, and they keep stumbling in pressure situations in world events time and time again. And we just hope that this is one thing which they learn from here. They'll have all the players, they'll have the Australians, most of the teams will have Australians also. So I just hope that, these Indian youngsters and even the senior players, they learn how to, be clinical and dominant like the Australians and just go for the kill. And that's all I'm hoping from an Indian point of view, that they get that champion mindset which the Australians have and it rubs off on them. And yeah, very excited. You'll have Gujarat to support. I'm assuming you're supporting
it's
Gujarat.
hard. When you look
I'm
at
just
when the tournament starts like this, it was like with the IPL back then, in 2008, there wasn't a Gujarat team. So who am I going to support? Well, Sachin plays for Mumbai, so I have to support them. Even if there was a Gujarat team, I'd probably just go with Sachin. So, it's difficult when tournaments starting like this. Who are you going to start off by supporting? Probably not Gujarat, if I'm honest. If I'm just going by players that I want to follow, it might even be RCB, which is a weird one because, I wouldn't support their men's team, and that's, despite them having Kohli, who I absolutely love. So Smriti's there, Richa Ghosh is there, Renuka Singh Thakur is there. They've got that solid core of the Indian team, really. They got the top order, they got the middle order, and they got the fast bowler as well. They got Dane van Niekerk from South Africa as well, who I think has got a point to prove after being dropped from the South Africa team for the World Cup. I think they look strong. Mumbai Indians obviously have invested heavily with Harmanpreet as the skipper, and you just look at their entire coaching staff as well. So Charlotte Edwards, Julian Goswami, it's as usual. It's just full of like A-listers, which is what they do in the men's IPL as well. So look, there's loads of interesting ones. Meg Lanning at Delhi Capitals, Jemmy's there as well, and Shafali. So interesting. It would be interesting to see how it goes for the first few games. But look, hugely exciting. Available all around the world via different TV channels and radios and whatever. I'm sure you'll all enjoy keeping across that one, and hopefully this will be the massive injection that Indian women's cricket needed for so long, and has finally got it. And we want to see the Indian women's team go from strength to strength after this. By playing in front of big crowds, playing against quality opposition regularly with quality opposition, and getting coached by some of the best coaches in the world as well, and being mentored by people like Sanya Mirza as well. What do you make of that quickly? She's at RCB as their team mentor, despite having, I wouldn't say nothing to do with cricket. She's married to Shoaib Malik, but she's a tennis Grand Slam doubles champion. What do you think she'll bring? And do you think it's a good move just in terms of publicity?
Probably like a Mike Horn. He was with the Indian team in 2011, and he's this, he's climbed mountains and he's gone all over the world and all these adventure sports. He was with KKR when they won in 2012, I think, and then they got him again in 2014. So there have been instances in the past where people with nothing to do with cricket have come in, and then even Neeraj Chopra. So I interviewed one of these under 19 girls, and she spoke about how having someone like Neeraj Chopra really inspired the girls, because though he's not associated with cricket, but sometimes it's just good to see the life of another sports person and see the challenges they face. And because these are individual sports, so the challenges in tennis or athletics is a lot different than what it is in cricket. So just for the cricketers, just knowing what the challenges are and overall how other people deal with it. She said, like, I interviewed Shabnam, so she had said that it was very different and a unique perspective which she got. So maybe that was the thinking with Sania Mirza. And of course, the brand value. RCB have focused a lot on their brand value. And that was one of the reasons why I think they splurged on Spriti Mandhana also. Both number 18s are in RCB, Kohli and Mandhana both. So, I hope it works out for them. And for me, I was unfortunate. I was literally sad when KKR didn't buy a team, because they were they held academies, and they were always at the forefront of buying a women's team. They have a women's team in the CPL also, and but yeah, I'm going with RCB also because Mandana is there and Richa Ghosh is there. So yeah, these are.
Cool. We'll wait and see how the competition
I'm not
goes.
supporting
Sorry?
Mumbai. Yeah, I'm not supporting Mumbai just because of the annoyance with them from the men's team. I am annoyed with
All right.
them from the men's
Fair
team.
enough.
They win too much, so
Fair
not
enough. We'll
supporting
wait and
them.
see how that competition goes. Kicks off on Saturday, and we hope for a couple of weeks of banging action, and then the men's IPL not too far off either. So as we mentioned at the start of this episode, it's going to be our last one for a long time, hopefully not forever. And if you missed the start of the episode, you can rewind back and have a listen, or I could just tell you briefly again. The 99.94 network, it's going through some stuff right now. The network has decided to take a break, so all shows will be stopped for now. But thank you to everyone who's tuned into the podcast on YouTube and just sent us messages and supported us. It's been a great journey so far. Hopefully it's not over, and hopefully we can be back with you regularly and just providing you with the best Indian cricket content possible. Sarah, thank you as well to you. You've been great co-pilot, great co-host on this podcast, and hopefully our journey together isn't done.
Thank you, Nikesh, for encouraging me every way, and it's been an honor to be doing this with you. So yeah,
likewise.
Thank you so
And we'll obviously still be on social media, so do follow us at Nikesh Rugani and at swaris16. You can keep across all of our other work that we do in broadcast and in writing. But for now, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully not too long before we see you soon.